feel like I'm getting deja vu. This is like a rock war number 2, a rock war number 2. I like the look of those oil supplies. I'd be ashamed if someone invaded you, if someone invaded you. And I ran so far away. Bomb I ran, I bombed them night and day, but destroy USA. A drone appears above your head, a mower bomb comes falling down on you, falling down on you. The fleet is moving nearer still, the Strait of Hormuz, it comes in view, the oil must flow through. And I ran so far away, the bomb I bombed them night and day, but destroy USA. A tiny hit hits a big red button. Atomic bombs come falling down on you. Mushroom clouds in view. Send out a tweet to let you know World War III, 'cause Israel told me to. All for Netanyahu. And I ran so far away. Bomb bomb them night and day. And I ran so far away. Bomb bomb them night and day, but destroy USA.
Ой, у лузі червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину підіймемо, а ми нашу славну Україну розвеселимо. Ой, у лузі червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася,
Сегодня я инициировал телефонный разговор с президентом Российской Федерации.
But you have no control, so your heart it aches. 'Cause you were born without brakes. You were born without brakes. You wait for the fall. When the stars call. Well, you have no control, so your heart aches. 'Cause you were born without brakes. You were born without brakes. You were raised for a fall. Yeah, you need it now, and you have no control. There's a golden age. Through the bars of your cage, through the tools to fate, you became what you hate. Yeah, you became what you hate. You gave it to them all. Through the tools to fate, you only saw it too late. Yeah, you became what you hate. You gave it to them all. Through the tools to fate, you only saw it too late. Now I owe you. I owe you too. Just remember now. Still I'm working it out. I'm working it out. I'm burning it up. While I'm over you, are you over me too? I'm working it out. I'm burning it up. While I'm over you, are you over me too? So cold, you must follow. It takes control. Control. Yeah, you became what you hate. You gave it to them all. Through the tools to fate, you only saw it too late. Yeah, you became what you hate. You gave it to them all. Through the tools to fate, you only saw it too late.
We're told we're not taking sides. I'm here to take sides. Mladic is a war criminal, the leader of the Bosnian Serbs. He is no better than Himmler. He is no better than Goebbels. He is a war criminal.
I was suggesting we bomb Belgrade.
What's so important about the Western Alliance? NATO for NATO's sake, so we can beat our breath? What I'm about to say is going to cause me great difficulty if I'm re-elected and come back here as the ranking member or chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. There is no moral center in Europe.
I was suggesting that we send American pilots in and blow up all the bridges on the Drina.
When in the last 2 centuries have the French or the British or the Germans or the Belgians, the Italians,
I was suggesting we take out his oil supply.
moved in a way to unify that continent, to stand up to this kind of genocide? When have they done this?
I was suggesting very specific action.
only reason anything is happening now is because the United States of America is understanding her role. The 21st century is going to be the American century. Because we never bow, we never bend, we never break. We are America, second to none, and we own the finish line. Don't forget it.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великой страны.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів. Робить примар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить. Хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар? Байрактар. Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ. Тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар. Байрактар. Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Far away, freedom.
Hello, friends. How are we doing today? See. Maybe that noise gate is too high. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Maybe that's better? I'm not sure. As long as it picks up what I'm saying, I guess. Hi. Hi, chat. I just woke up. I got a day off, just woke up. Okay. Well, I went back to using the other microphone because I don't feel like moving the other one in here, especially since I might actually go into the other room during this at some point, depending on what it is that I decide that I'm going to do today in terms of the stream and stuff. But yeah, it still does. You guys still do need to be able to hear me and everything. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, so on account of the fact that Loner isn't streaming today for some reason, I guess, I decided that I was going to. I don't know why he isn't here. Probably because, I don't know. Who even knows? So, you know, apparently, there has been some crazy stuff that's been happening. Apparently, the United States is not happy that Israel went insanely hard on striking the oil fields in Iran. Apparently, yeah. Or rather, to be more accurate, apparently Donald Trump woke up this morning and looked at the oil prices and was like, "BB, what the fuck?" Which is very funny. Are you coming to Israel with Destiny? What is Destiny going back to Israel? I'm confused. What are you talking about? I haven't heard anything about this. I have no idea to what you are referring. Loner is in a better place now in WoW. I understand that Loner usually is away for the weekend, but the weekend doesn't typically include Mondays, and it is Monday unless I'm like completely off. Loner is off starting another war in the Middle East. Yeah, oh yeah, the burning oil is very bad for the environment, absolutely. That is another issue. Okay, there we go. Now that's connected. Okay. WoW isn't going to grind itself. I don't actually understand that. I thought Loner hit level 70 already. But apparently he hasn't yet. I'm kind of confused by that. He seems to just be running dungeons. Lebanon is kicking off. Loner is missing out on. Did you hear about the bomb attack on an anti-Muslim rally in New York City? I heard that there were bombs thrown outside of Mamdani's home. Not anything about a bomb attack on an anti-Muslim rally. That's not something that I heard about. Okay, hold on. Oh, so yesterday, not long after I went offline, they named a new Ayatollah. And it's Khamenei's son. But now I want to know, how many sons does this motherfucker have? Just the one? Or does he have two? Because there was that Times of Israel, or there was that Channel 12 article yesterday that said that he that he was like it said that the Ayatollah said he didn't want like one of his sons named as his heir, and he put that in his will. He said something about being invited to Israel, and somebody was bitching about it on Reddit. Oh, okay. Like, what, invited to go back? I mean, I don't know why he would, but okay. That's not really his content anymore. It made a lot of sense for him to do it before. Yeah, I mean, Destiny has been done with the Israel-Palestine conflict. He'll still talk about it, but he hasn't really kept up with it because that's not really been the important news. Okay. Oh, and yeah, I heard the Tuckman saying 2 Israelis killed in missile strike. Yeah, he has been a lot more critical, although he's kind of been critical a lot anyway, but yeah, I mean, more so lately. I don't know. Like, I don't know the extent that he's kept up with it, you know? Okay. Yeah, potentially because Trump is involved. And I don't think, and by the way, also Destiny's never liked BB either, so that's something. Okay. U.S. indicts 2 alleged terrorists accused of trying to bomb New York City protests. Are these the same guys? I thought that the U.S. Department of Justice has indicted 2 people accused of trying to bomb a protest in New York City. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a post on X, calling them alleged ISIS-inspired terrorists. We will not allow ISIS's poisonous anti-American ideology to threaten this nation. Our law enforcement officers remain vigilant. Oh my God, she's so cringe. It's like every single time. She can't help it. She can't not be cringe. Is this the person? Did they just like show up with a bomb? Or were there, oh, there was two of them. Yeah. When are you taking Stuart to the promised land, Kalinda? What do you mean? You mean to Israel? I'm not taking Stuart to Israel. If I was going to go on a trip, well, first of all, the first trip that I go on that will be related for this stream is going to be to Poland to go visit Holocaust places. No masks in front of cops, not sending their best. True. Oh, Gideon Sar to UN's Lebanon envoy. IDF has to be in Lebanon to protect our citizens. Okay. I mean, Hezbollah did start going off again. He also said that weakening Hezbollah is a shared interest of both Israel and Lebanon. He stressed that the UNIFIL peacekeeping force is an obstacle to IDS operations against Hezbollah. Oh, geez. Does UNIFIL actually do anything? Donnie's already in hot water again because of his wife liking Yikes posts about 10-7. Yeah, I wait, are people actually asking him about that? IDF detects new ballistic missile launch towards Israel's north. This was from 16 minutes ago. Sirens are expected to sound in the coming minutes. Okay, there hasn't been any new updates about that. Okay. Defensive officials warn Hezbollah. Also, hold on. How many kids does this motherfucker have? Okay, he has 6 kids. Okay. I think there was one kid apparently that he named in his will that he didn't want to be his successor. I've heard the new Ayatollah is racist against Arabs. Maybe he is. So this is the new guy, I think. Yeah, okay, yeah, this is the new guy. He's the current supreme leader. It may have been Mustafa, or it was this other guy, Mutaba. Maybe it was Mutaba. Hold on. Or at least that is what Israel was reporting, that apparently he didn't want, in his will, he said, I don't want, that he said, I don't want this one son named as my, imagine being called out by your dad like that and being told, no, not you. That's actually very funny. Okay. God, it sucks that Wikipedia thinks that there are certain sources that I think it just sucks that Wikipedia thinks that it's cool to use them as sources. Mainly The Intercept. Al Jazeera is kind of iffy, but The Intercept in particular, at least for certain things. Anyway. Oh, there it is. Okay, this should help, maybe. Oh, no. Okay. There's nothing in here, I guess. Maybe that was fake news. I don't know. Or that was, I mean, that was just information in an Israeli thingy. But yeah. Um who the fuck knows? Okay. Someone's going to have a headache when Al Jazeera starts posting anti-Iranian content. Wait, does Al Jazeera regularly post anti-Iranian content? Is this a thing that normally happens? I wouldn't think that it would be. Is this a thing that occurs? It's actually is also, by the way, it's funny that Hamanai. Okay, so Hamanai hadn't discussed his replacement apparently. Damn, that sucks. It would have been really funny if that report from Channel 12 was true. Just because the idea of that is very funny. Where like there was one particular son where he was just like, no, not you. Damage to a classroom following a strike that hit a kindergarten in the central city of Ramleh. Damn, Jesus. A direct hit? That's crazy. Oman Sultan congratulates new Iran's supreme leader. Of course he did. Oh yeah, that's because Oman is, I think they're still mad. I'm just saying since, oh, Iran attacked Qatar. That's true, they did, yeah. Iranian missile hits open area in the north. Yeah, so I'm just looking for, there was some stuff that I saw about the oil prices, or the oil field strikes. Hold on. Also, apparently Adam Something is going to make a video about Israel. I don't know. Do you guys know who Adam Something is? Are you familiar at all with him? I think he normally makes channels about like about very funny like weird libertarian architectural projects that people like try to do. Like that time that a bunch of libertarians apparently bought an old boat and tried to live on it. He's cool, loves trains, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he is. Apparently, he's going to make a video about Israel, though. Yeah, he's a pro-Ukraine guy. Yeah, he's going to be making a video about Israel. And in the last post that I saw where he was talking about this, he said that he feels like you could compare Israel to the Serbs during the Bosnian Civil War, or the Kosovo, or the Yugoslav, the breakup of Yugoslavia. And I was like, and he talked about, and he said like he mentioned like the racial superiority or the superiority and shit. I don't understand. Where does this come from? Does everybody think that like all of Israel's laws or everything about Israel is related to like them thinking that they're better than everybody else? Does everyone just think, because like Hassan does this too. He says that like Israelis are Jewish supremacists, or that Israel is a Jewish supremacist state. But as far as my understanding is that the only ideology really to come out of Israel that like preached that kind of shit was Hanism. The opposition leader Yair Lapid recently said that weird shit about cleansing out Lebanese villages. Yeah, I know he said some weird shit. But the thing is that stuff doesn't really connect with Israelis / Jewish, or Jewish Israelis think they're better than everybody else. Like that's not where their dislike of Arabs comes from. It's not some weird racial shit. Yes, is Naftali Bennett the new opposition leader, or is he currently he's the guy who's in the running to beat Bibi. And yeah, I know he's as conservative as Netanyahu is, but because he's different than Netanyahu, and there have been people who have said that he might be more of a pragmatist, it's possible that, listen, at this point, I'll take anybody over Bibi, okay? Except like Ben Gvir or Smotrich. Is he as corrupt? Probably not. Oh, is Bennett second in the polls? Who's first in the polls right now? Is it BB? I mean, I would imagine he might be after this shit. It's probably because of the strikes. BB has been first for like over a year now. Ooh, not good, guys. Okay, hold on. I'm just trying to find. Well, you know what? CNN should probably have it, so I'll just pull it up from there. Also, I guess Grassroots Hegemon isn't around this late in the day. Ugh. I'll probably only go for a couple of hours. Oh, wait. All right, guys. Hello, Zoni. I'm gonna pull Epic Fail in, and we're gonna do a Q&A because he's here. Please do not ask any retarded questions about whether or not it was him who was like fucking in the
Why,
whatever.
hello.
Oh, hello, you're here.
Yeah.
Damn, I wasn't expecting you to join immediately. All right, yeah. So does
just
chat? Do you have any questions for Epic here about the war? Or actually, do you want? You told me there are shitloads of there's tons of misinformation happening that you've seen online. I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, there always is.
Like,
yeah, I mean, that's just how it goes.
is there anything in particular that you've seen that you can think of or whatever?
I mean, I guess it gets like how technical you want to get because there's like layers to it, but the big thing I think is I think people don't understand how like the U.S. fights wars, and I think people need to stop looking at Ukraine for solutions to how we fight wars. And it's I don't mean that with any disrespect to Ukrainians. It's just we don't do things the same way, and the tools they use aren't very helpful for us. And the strategy we have is the same. And I think people are looking at things like interception rates without really understanding how to contextualize a lot of that information.
What do you oh wait, hold on. Conduit needs a VIP in your YouTube community management. Can I even do that? I don't know if I can, but I'll see. Anyway, is there what am I thinking? Oh, someone asked in chat about if we think it's true that that the THAAD or the TAD, I don't know how to say it, the radar complex was damaged. Apparently people were saying this in chat yesterday. I had no idea if that was true. That the
THAAD?
Yeah.
It's THAAD. So with the Army, they like their acronyms. Well, it's not even. There's a special word for it, but an acronym that is also a word. But THAAD is Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. So the beautiful thing about an Army system is if you just know what that acronym stands for, you know exactly what it does. So a radar for a THAAD battery was hit. That shouldn't really surprise anyone. When you go to war, you take hits, right? That we're probably going to lose a plane or two too, beyond what we already have. Probably more Americans are going to die than already have died. I think if people have this expectation that the U.S. can just, go fight one of the largest countries in the world by population and enter an unrestricted war where it's existential for them, and that we're not going to have anything take a hit across the Middle East, I think that's a delusional expectation to have.
Yeah. I mean, no, I agree. I think that might be part of the issue too, though, because people are saying that not only do a lot of Americans not support this war, but I imagine that if Trump or that Trump might maybe start to really see that in the polls or hear about it if the more those casualties go up. Because I think Loner was saying that, unless you think this isn't true, but seems like also this is also apparently incredibly expensive, and they haven't passed anything to continue to pay for this, and there's like, yeah, I don't know how long this can go on for. Oh, and there was a report apparently from the intelligence community, or it might have been the DNI's office, put out some sort of a report that said it was very unlikely that they were going to be able to take out the Iranian regime with just an air war, and that like without putting boots on the ground. I don't know what you make of all of that, but I don't know how much of that is your area.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but
Well, I mean, it's never in all of human history, we've never, with just air power alone, caused a change in government. People will cite Japan, but with Japan, the atomic bombings, the fire bombings did lead to a surrender, but there was still an occupation that lasted 10 years and involved 3 million American soldiers. So I don't think that would be an example either, unless we're
but
talking
also,
about
wasn't that
after
after like
the
a
U.S.
long ass
done bombing.
blockade too, where shitloads of people were like died of starvation or whatever? Wasn't that also a thing?
15,000 every day by
Yeah.
1945 were dying of starvation. Yeah, so I think it's a misunderstanding. And also with Japan, there was the threat of a ground invasion that we were working towards. That also was part of what the Japanese were thinking about. And again, that only got a surrender. The change in government didn't. Japan, when it surrendered, didn't just become a democracy, right?
Yeah,
It took
yeah.
a decade to do that, and that took occupying. It took boots on the ground.
Did they expect?
So I think it's probably naive. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, when the Japanese surrendered, did they expect that the U.S. was going to come in with troops and change their government, or did they think that they just? I assume there must have been some expectation of that, but.
Yeah, no, they were blown away by how little we changed. They expected us to hang the emperor, and we didn't. So they were very surprised because they expected us to do what they would have done to us, which is basically a genocide, right? That's what a lot of Japanese civilians thought, that the Americans were going to come rape everybody, kill everybody that was left, and occupy the country like a colony, because that's how Japan had fought wars historically. So, yeah, but anyway, that's getting off. With Iran, I think it'd be naive to expect. Look, air power can destroy things. It can destroy governments. It can make states go away. People do not realize. I think over the coming weeks, as more information and satellite photography comes out about what it looks like when you have the Central Command just really take the leash off and start dropping tens of thousands of bombs every day. Or every week, more accurately there. I think people are going to be absolutely blown away by the damage you could do to that regime. So we can make the government go away, but that doesn't make a new government emerge, right? That's not something aircraft are going to be able to do. So like Japan, we were able to destroy the imperial government with our bombs, but it did take a decade of American occupation to build a new democracy. So if our goal is to leave Iran a stable country with a functioning state, we're not going to do that with just airstrikes. That's not ever going to happen.
Do you think there's a plan, like to?
No.
Oh, okay. You don't think?
No, I think if you want to really get like the best version of the stream of consciousness in this White House, just look at what the Secretary of State Rubio is saying. And what he said the other day is true, that Israel was going to go in, whether or not the U.S. did. That's true. And if Israel went in and this became existential for Iran, they were going to hit everything, including American bases. That's also true. I think it's probably the case that what Rubio said in that speech was not lying. I think it's probably the case that we made a very last-minute decision to go through with this, and there wasn't really much planning beyond that. I think that's probably true.
Yeah. Oh, guys, the new ContraPoints is a thing, but I think she's switched to doing media commentary now, and not like it's not a political video, or at least it didn't look like one. But anyway, hold on? So wait, people, there were some questions. Keep Your Blisssteins said, where is this BS that Raytheon can build less than 10 PAC-3 interceptor coming from? What's a PAC-3 I I don't know what these words mean.
Patriot Advanced Capability 3, PAC 3. So PAC 3 is the most sophisticated generation. Obviously, there's subvariants, but it's the current capability for the interceptor missile fired by the MIM-104, which is the Patriot Missile Defense System. So PAC 3 is the interceptors that are shot out. Patriot Advanced Capability 3. And that's, by the way, I don't know where this BS. I would implore anybody who, if you think someone's wrong, before like typing "where is this BS," just go check the publicly available procurement information on our current production rates, which are, pretty much like 12 a month. That's true. Now, could we make more? Yes, if Congress were to fund the purchase of more, which isn't happening and hasn't happened since 2022, since Russia invaded Ukraine. We've been talking about we're going to ramp up production. We're going to ramp up production. We're going to ramp up production. Congress has not yet authorized that. So we can keep talking about how it might be vaguely possible in the future, but as the years go by, where we're still only producing a handful a month, unless you have a time machine, talking about solutions in the future isn't going to solve problems today.
Yeah, okay. No,
but also, I want to be super clear. If anyone listening thinks that America, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Okay, low-cost cruise missiles like the Shahed, okay, they are cheap. And you have these people who will say like, oh, a Shahed costs, I don't know, $50,000 to make. By the way, that's not a real number. Like all the numbers around says about how expensive those are to make, they're lying. I don't know why we take that at face value. But anyways, let's assume it's like $50,000 to make. Right. And then a PAC 3 is something like 1.25 million a pop. And you have these people who are like, oh, that's a losing battle. America spends 1.25 million to intercept a Shahed. Yeah, that would be if we actually did that. But we don't. You're not firing a PAC 3 at a Shahed. You're firing a PAC 3 at an aircraft, a ballistic missile, something very sophisticated and difficult to deal with. Nobody's loosing PAC 3 interceptors at Shaheds. That's an retarded use of resources that no commander would ever make unless it's an edge case where maybe they're sitting on a Patriot battery. Maybe that's the only tool they have to intercept. And maybe that thing's about to slam into something really valuable. Then maybe you fire the PAC 3. But even then, you're still going to calculate, is that thing taking a hit more or less expensive than me firing off a PAC 3 to defend it? The idea that we're just firing hundreds of Patriot missiles to intercept Shahed drones is a delusional misunderstanding of how we do air defense in the United States.
Okay, so now this brings me to another question then. What do you make of is it true? Also, that was an epic rant. Is it true that it is true, but so apparently Ukraine is going to be giving America intercept drones to use in the Middle East against Shaheds because Iran has like a gazillion Shaheds, and there's all this talk about the US running out of air defense or like air defense being super expensive or whatever. I'm guessing that all of this stuff, I don't know if the air defense being expensive is true, but the other stuff, apparently this is what's happening, or at least that's what everyone's reported. I don't know, like, if this is just not true or the way that people are talking about this isn't true, or if it's just because Ukraine's interceptor drones are hella fucking cheap. I think they're like $1,000 a pop or something.
No, not really. A lot of it's just not really accurate information. Those interceptor drones are not as cheap as people think they are. Part of the reason they're so cheap is because a lot of the components come from China. And I know there's going to be like 8 people who have an autistic special interest in air defense and don't know what the fuck they're talking about that are going to type now, they're not from China. Components aren't from China, but a lot of the raw resources are. A lot of the carbon fibers coming from China, a lot of the chips that go on the boards, that maybe the board's made in Europe, the chips are made in China. The U.S. cannot rely on Chinese imports to make weapons, obviously, right? So the second you take all these cheap drones and you build them in America with American labor without the Chinese components, all of a sudden they're just as expensive as cruise missiles that are a lot more capable in the offense, and then in the defense, they're just as expensive as things like APKWS, which is a $10,000 rocket that we load up on F-16s, F-35s, F-15s, which, by the way, have been what's actually been intercepting most of these Shahed drones. And by the way, in Ukraine, we gave Ukraine APKWS. They fly them on their F-16s, and those are a lot more useful than their drone interceptors do. I commend the Ukrainians for coming up with clever solutions to use what limited resources they have to get the job done. But in the United States, our goal should not be to emulate the last-ditch difficult decisions Ukraine's been forced to make, right? Like, I'm sure that Ukraine will send some drone interceptors, and they're doing that obviously for PR and soft power reasons. And I'm sure those drone interceptors might, in a few cases, help. And there might be cases where a Ukrainian drone interceptor intercepts a Shahed and it saved America money. But on net, training to integrate this kind of capability into the way we do force structure is not an intelligent decision for the DoD. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense tactically, strategically, or from an industrial perspective. It just doesn't play to our strengths or how we fight wars.
Yeah,
And I want to be clear about how we fight wars, okay? Because everyone's looking at this like it's a Ukraine too. Our job, our goal should not be how can we sit here and intercept Shaheds cheaply. Our goal should be how can we destroy the launch facilities, infrastructure, and production for the Shaheds. If you look at Iran's launch capacity, it's gone down by about 10% every day. It's down more than 90% from what it was at day one. They're launching less Shaheds, less ballistic missiles every day. We're not interested in spending a ton of money on interceptors to intercept the Shaheds. We're a lot more interested in spending that money on bombs to blow up the places where they're being made. And again, if Ukraine had the kind of air force we did, you wouldn't see Ukraine shooting down Shaheds over Ukraine. They'd be blowing up Shahed factories in Moscow. That's what they would be doing.
Yeah, it is actually funny because that I keep hearing a lot of people keep talking about how Ukraine or about how like the way that Ukraine is fighting this war with the drones and stuff is going to be the new thing or whatever. And
no,
yeah, it's just I don't know, that just doesn't seem to be you have reinforced in my mind that is not the way that this works. And yeah, after other people
even think like everyone's so excited about FPV drones. In the 1950s, the US had something called the DF-21. It was a drone that could be launched from a B-52. It could fly over Russia, take pictures or drop bombs, which would independently be precision-guided autonomous drones. And then it could fly back to the US on its own. And this was like the 50s, right? Now, why would we go backwards to like a Chinese quadcopter that can go like 20 miles that needs a human pilot with a VR headset hiding in a trench within artillery range of the line of contact? How is this a step forward for anybody? Again, I'm not shit on the Ukrainians. They've been really inventive and ingenious with solving problems with the tools they have. But that doesn't mean that we should emulate that. It's just not, it's not a winning strategy.
Yeah, because that's not okay. Hold on, wait. Who else? People were saying, would it make sense for the Gulf countries to purchase interceptors directly from Ukraine? Oh yeah, because they're all getting fucked. Well, I don't know if they're getting fucked, a lot of the Gulf countries, but it seems like they have stuff.
I think it's like fewer now than it used to.
Oh shit,
be,
stay
like, in the
safe,
beginning.
Patty.
Hi. I had a question. And that is with the Chinese maritime militia. They obviously have a lot of fucking bolts, right?
Yeah.
Do you think using drones in that capacity would, be better? Like
For China, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all about comparative advantage, right? So the US has a really good aerospace industry. We make the best airplanes in the world, and we have a really good Air Force that's really good at flexing that. So when we think about drone solutions, we think about what can we stick to an airplane. So that's how we get like APKWS. That plays into our already large infrastructure to deploy aircraft. And we're a global power, right? So we don't want like a drone team that has to like dig a trench and sit and they can only fly the drone within an hour in any direction. We want a plane that can take off from Whitman Air Force Base, fly to Iran, drop bombs, fly home. Or you load up the same plane with APKWS, it can take off from Whitman, fly to Iran, shoot down 100 Shaheds, fly home. This plays into how we as Americans fight wars. It plays into our geostrategic situation with an ocean on each side and all our problems being very far away. Okay? China is not the US. China has all their wars are going to be fought right in their backyard. They have all these civilian ships that you couldn't really stick VLS tubes on them and put big missiles on them, but you could put a couple hundred quadcopters in the bay that used to fit the fish you catch. And then, you could put these ships near those islands like the Senkaku Islands, and they can, these ships can be hard to target because they'll blend in with civilians, and they can launch these drones to hit, American runways and whatnot on Senkaku. So for China, these drones are, and also China has this huge industry about making cheap drones. In a way, the Ukraine war has been the biggest boon to China's drone infrastructure because the Ukrainians and the Russians both get drone components from China. So the whole last 5 years, China's been building more and more and getting better at building these like kind of cheap small drones.
Yeah.
We're not China. We're not Ukraine. We're the US. So we need to look at what we have and how we can use those tools to fight wars. I feel like a lot of people think about it like a video game where everybody's on the same playing field, they get the same tech trees, right? And there's just one like meta and you just do the meta. But in real life, with infinite complexity, with geography, with different demographics, like the fact that the Chinese have 1.5 billion people to solve problems and we have 380 million, we have different constraints, we have different tools, we have different areas we should optimize.
Oh, I have a question.
Do you think?
Or I'm sorry, there's another
yeah.
question from chat as I was rolling up. Is that okay, Mina? Or
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, someone asked, or Faraz Khan asks, as the war goes on, how do you expect the targets the U.S. and Israel choose to bomb will change? Will they shift more to infrastructure as military and security targets dwindle? But would they do that? Isn't that a you mean to see civilian
yeah, well,
infrastructure?
I mean, they've
so to
already
be clear,
started
Israel and the
doing that.
U.S. are not exactly operating as a joint
Yeah.
force. What I mean when I say that, the U.S. joint force is a single force with a single commander and a single objective, and everything flows from that. Everything that the central command does is done jointly by the hands of the combatant commander, who is one man who takes orders from the joint chiefs and the president. He has his orders, and those orders are to A, destroy Iran's ability to wage war, and B, dismantle Iran's enduring security threats to the United States. So what that means is what the United States is trying to do is to destroy Iran's ability to threaten the U.S. in any way, shape, or form, and to project power regionally. Israel has a different joint force that is not integrated with ours. It's not under our command. They are doing their own thing. This isn't like a NATO operation where there's one supreme allied commander, one objective that all the NATO allies agree on. Israel has different objectives. Israel is trying to do regime change. The U.S. is not trying to do regime change. The targets the U.S. are selecting, the combatant commander for the United States is not selecting targets to do a regime change. He is selecting targets to destroy Iran's ability to wage war. Israel is going for a regime change. So you're going to have different priorities from the start. And also as things evolve, they're going to evolve differently with the Israelis and the United States. The second component to that, so at the first outset, there's an overlap in that to do anything, you first need to establish air supremacy, which is the state of having denied the enemy the ability to resist in the air. So destroy their air force, all their air defenses, anything that can threaten your own aircraft. And you have a lot of overlap there with the Israelis and the US both doing the same thing, which is performing continuing suppression of enemy air defense missions, which is striking radar, command and control, the ability to move logistically, because, as air defense batteries use up missiles, there's army logistics that connect them. Trucks have to move the missiles and the rocket fuel and all that stuff. So right now, you're still seeing that suppression of enemy air defenses priority. And then you're also seeing different political or key targets being hit where you do have this localized air dominance. And then you also have the US focusing extensively on Iran's ballistic missile capability. That's what the Global Strike Command, who controls our bomber force, is mostly focused on right now. Probably when Iran's been neutered militarily, the US is going to leave. That's probably going to be the end of America's involvement. And I expect that to be in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
Israel might continue after that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something that The thing that I noticed this morning, or like we saw the insane fires that have been like in Tehran from those videos.
And
Apparently,
the oil
because
depots.
yeah, Israel's been hitting Iran's oil infrastructure. I'm guessing that's because that Iran uses that to make money or whatever, and that has driven up the price of. I hear that America's not very happy about that, probably because that Trump saw that oil prices went up. I don't know why he didn't expect
Well,
that was going to happen, but
Well, oil prices are
well, they've gone
also
up
a bit
quite dramatically.
speculative, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
they're up like a lot. I didn't even check the percentage this morning, but it's everything is getting a lot more expensive when it comes to burning fuel right now, especially flying. It's if anybody's planning on buying an airline ticket in the next few months, you should buy it now and not in a week. Just gonna say, 'cause I think it'll be twice as expensive.
ooh, okay, Jesus.
yeah,
Um,
I think like even like China is like cutting down on the amount of like sorties they're doing like in the South China Sea because
China just banned the export of fuel.
yeah, because they're like scared that like they're gonna run out of fuel pretty fast because you know their whole production lines and everything. I mean, they do have renewable energy, pretty big sector of that, but obviously, like they still rely on a lot of fossil fuels, and if they don't get those fossil fuels, like not enough, for example, from Russia or whatever, then yeah, they're gonna be screwed like in a couple of days, maybe even a couple
10
of weeks.
days is
So
what I've seen, although I don't claim to
yeah,
know the whatever
it's
the
all
CIA thinks on that, I
speculation,
don't
but
know.
yeah.
But 10 days might be something to look at.
There's fuck, what was it? Oh, Addy is saying oil prices went up because of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, that could be yeah, that
Oh
actually
yeah.
Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is where most of the oil in the world flows out of. At least, sorry, in the European, Eurasian world. In North America, we get almost all of our energy from ourselves because we're not cucks, but the rest of the world's relying on the Middle East.
yeah.
I
Oh,
wonder how much the Norwegians and the Scots are like gaining from this because like they also have like
Well, Russia's the big winner.
yeah, that's the other thing I
Yeah.
was just gonna say. Apparently,
yeah.
America doesn't give a fuck that Russia is, you know, apparently giving intelligence about the locations of U.S.
sanctions.
forces in the Middle East, and they're also temporarily lifting oil sanctions on Russia.
Yeah,
I'm
but
going to be
there's
honest.
not much
Every
they
time
can do with
Democrats,
that
I'm sorry, I'm
information.
saying this as a Democrat. Every time someone who supports Democrats says this to me, just so you know, also to anyone who wears a uniform or has for the last 50 fucking years, it's just a bit cringe inducing because this is what the Republicans were saying for 30 years when Russia was supplying Iran with intelligence to kill Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2003. Hundreds of Americans when they sent Wagner to fight Americans and they killed Americans. And Obama was saying things like the 1980s called and wants its foreign policy back. And I just hope the party learns its fucking lesson. That's all I'm going to say on that one. But I
Honestly,
agree. Right now,
yeah.
Trump is expressing the same disregard that Obama and every other president, including Biden, expressed in this area. And it's just, I guess, everyone's acting surprised like it's new, and it's just a little annoying. So.
Yeah, I get it. I Jesus Christ. There's oh yeah, Trump keeps saying the war is very complete, pretty much could be over soon. Do you think maybe he should just stop? I don't know. This is
Okay, I always think he should stop tweeting, but I mean, we're probably about halfway through a lot of the intensive operations. Probably in like 4 or 5 days, the tempo is going to start going down, and probably you're going to have a few more, 2 or 3 more weeks of more limited operations from the U.S. Again, I'm saying probably. I can't say for sure. There's a lot of things can happen. China is, by the way, you said Russia's supplying intelligence. China's supplying far more significant intelligence that's far more credible as like a threat to the U.S. China's also supplying a lot more weapons than the Russians are. So I would just say, for whatever extent Russia can be a problem, Russia has an economy smaller than Italy, about the size of Florida, and China has an economy in terms of PPP adjusted bigger than the United States, but in real GDP slightly smaller than the United States. So just I would keep the eyes on the real problem, which is the Chinese. As much as the Russians are annoying, to whatever extent foreign aid is tipping the scales here, 99.99% of that material is coming from China.
Okay, fair. I mainly my annoyance is just about like the general dismissal of it, because I feel like Trump and the administration wouldn't dismiss it about with regards to China, because it seems like they don't have the same level of weird, I don't know, trust or whatever.
Well, China's getting pretty fucked by
I think
this.
Trump has dismissed it to the same regard. And I think Trump also, like when China was encircling Taiwan and putting out press speaking saying, this is the closest we've come to a full blockade. Maybe next time it will be an invasion. Trump was like, I'm not worried about it. I don't care. Like, Trump just is like that. I'm just saying, if you're seeing this as a pattern unique to Russia, I think you're just misinformed.
Okay,
And I think a lot of your
fair.
viewers might see that too. And I think they're probably misinformed. But with
Well-
that said, like, I'm not defending it. It's disgusting. I'm just saying it doesn't seem unique to Russia in this case. It seems like Trump just kind of respects dictators and thinks they're based. It's just generally. But
Yeah,
except for
oh.
Maduro.
Yes, except for
Yeah.
Maduro. Yeah, no, he does. That is true. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's because I haven't really been following the China stuff as much, and I should start. Like this morning, I did look up a bunch of stuff about what you said about China not liking Putin's nuclear saber rattling and how fucking annoyed they were by that. And yeah,
Yeah. Did you find some of those statements out there?
yeah, I did. I found that a lot of it was public. It was mentioned, and then
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then there was I think the Financial Times had a report that apparently behind the Xi privately told Putin, "Hey, stop with the nuclear shit." But that's obviously that can't be confirmed, and of course, like the Kremlin's going to say that that's not true. But yeah,
Yeah, it's mostly the less V that says it publicly and more their Minister of Foreign Affairs. Although keep in mind, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has changed like 11 fucking times in the last 2 or 3 years because they keep purging themselves. So.
Oh yes, true. Okay.
I did want to ask you a question earlier. Still with regards to drones. Do you think obviously the US has like a different focal point when it comes to their procurement. But would you say, for example, that the Koreans and the Japanese should look more at drones than obviously the US because they are
Yeah,
that close,
absolutely.
and the Taiwanese
Yeah, so
too.
the
Like-
Koreans and Japanese, again, everyone's different. You have to look at, you should never, when you think about how to wage a war, if you just have like blanket, like, oh, drones are the future, that's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's retarded. Okay. You have to say, like, what are we working with? What are the industries we have? What's our demographics? What country are we trying to defend? In what geography? Against what threat? At what scale? With what budget? These are like, if you don't even think about these, you have like a like command and conquer free understanding of the way militaries function. And when it comes to Japan and Korea, again, I'm not an expert on either. Japan is definitely the one I'm more educated on. But these are countries with, both of them have severe demographic issues. Both of them have, like with Korea, you have conscription and they still cannot get enough men into the military. So you also have a relatively high GDP per capita in both countries. Like Japan and Korea, I'm pretty sure is like higher GDP per capita than like most Western European countries. I'm pretty sure on both of them. But these are rich countries with small aging populations. So they have a lot of money to throw at defense, but they don't have a lot of people to throw at defense. So for them, more autonomous things is good, especially like one of the problems, for air forces is like only about 1% of people can be fighter pilots, just for so many reasons, like genetics, the right heights, being physically fit enough, not having heart conditions, having the vision that's perfect without correction, being able to not get extreme motion sickness when you're traveling in those maneuvers. So it's hard for countries of smaller populations to produce many pilots. Like Japan could double the budget of its air force. I'm not sure they could double the number of pilots if they tried. So you're going to see more autonomy there. But we don't have this problem in the U.S. So it's just, it's different.
So I could never be a fighter pilot because I wear glasses, which is fair. And I guess you can't, wearing contact lenses is probably a terrible idea if you are, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could fly for the Air Force. They're just not going to put you in a fighter. There's prescription visors that like guys who fly the bombers and stuff use. I'm not aware of any waivers existing. Yeah, there are exceptions to any of these rules, which are like waivers, and like you can like go to a board and argue your case and say like I could still, but I don't know if they'd ever give like a waiver to somebody who needs. Maybe they'd pay for your getting LASIK though.
Apparently, like that's the thing. I may do that one day. Not that I actually want to be a fighter
But there's
pilot. That
also a
shit
bunch
sounds
of
insane, but
complications when it comes to LASIK and stuff like that. Like people get like extreme eye dryness and stuff like that.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
like
I
it
mean, I
would
know my
be
buddy
kind of a pain in the
was at the
ass.
Air Force Academy. They paid him to do LASIK, but he's not a pilot. He went into intelligence.
Okay. Oh, right. There was one other thing. Fuck, what was it? Oh yeah. I wanted to ask because you answered this in chat before. You said that that when you have to fly long missions, you like you guys will have like snacks or whatever, and then like you can drink water. Does that mean? But that means you have to take the face mask off. And I'm assuming. Keep in mind, I'm a retard and I don't know anything about like flying or anything, but I'm assuming that the inside of your aircraft isn't pressurized, and that's why you guys wear the masks, unlike the commercial airliners, which are.
No. It's pressurized, but so with a commercial aircraft, you have a pressurized cabin with like a cabin altitude that's normally like about 12,000 feet ish. The newer planes like the 787s maybe a bit lower, and what that means is like if the cabin altitude is 12,000 feet, no matter what altitude the plane's at, it feels like you're at 12,000 feet, right? So with fighters, you have a pressurized cockpit, but the cabin altitude's normally like 20,000 feet, which, you know, after a while will start to give you a pretty bad migraine, and after like an hour will like have some effects with hypoxia.
Ooh.
So you can breathe it in for a while. And the other thing is there's not a huge risk of rapid depressurization with a commercial airplane, and if there is, you have these emergency oxygen masks.
Yeah.
With a fighter getting shot at, there is a pretty big risk that like something hits the canopy and the canopy explodes. And a fighter also could be at unusual altitudes and speeds. Like you could be doing 60,000 feet, which is very high. And that without an oxygen mask, a sudden depressurization would be fatal. So having the oxygen mask is there's safety features, and also just keeping you a good feet of oxygen at a lower cabin altitude than the cockpit has. But it is pressurized in the cockpit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's safe to take off the mask for a short period of time and then put it back on after you're finished like munching. All right, I understand.
Just a short period. Like you can take it off for 20, 30 minutes if you want. Also, it depends what altitude you're flying at. Like I wouldn't ever take the mask off at 60,000 feet, although I haven't really put a plane at 60,000 feet many times. So.
Okay, yeah. Wait, someone
I would be too afraid of like throwing up.
Well, I mean,
like,
that's not. Then you probably wouldn't be a fighter pilot. I don't even.
No, I'm pretty sure a lot of fighter pilots throw up. No.
Well, I mean, everyone throws up every once in a while, especially, but usually not when you're flying. You usually get motion sickness when you're not controlling the airplane. When you're controlling the airplane, there's generally I don't know the right word to use, but the
Wizzos
organs that
like
control your
motion sickness
balance
all the
will
time?
coordinate better. Sorry?
Do Wizzos get motion sickness all the time, or?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them throw up a lot, but I mean, also they fly, right? So there's controls in the back too, and there's times where they're gonna fly, you're gonna pass off control. They're like a co-pilot, as well as a combat systems officer, as well as a radar technician, and you know they manage all that crap. But they can fly the plane sometimes.
Oh, HRNY asked that I think Epic kind of answered this question before. He said something about ask Epic about piddle packs and if you ever use flight divers. Isn't that like a thing? You guys have like stuff built into your suits so that you don't, if you have to like pee, because you obviously can't like use the bathroom or whatever on the flight. Like that's only a thing that happens with the bombers. They actually have like beds and bathrooms.
Yeah, the heavies have bathrooms. The bombers, the cargo planes, the AWACS, they all have those facilities. A fighter obviously doesn't. I mean, obviously, like So a lot of what fighters do is pretty short duration flight stuff, especially how like people do not understand how much gas those engines can burn, how quickly. An F-15 with a full tank of gas can dump both of those tanks out the engine with your peak power, military power at sea level. You could do that in like 2 minutes. Your entire gas tank is gone. Now you could also fly for like an hour and a half with the same amount of gas at a different speed and altitude. But the point is, a lot of times when fighters go up, you're not really up in the air for that long. Like when you're cruising halfway across the world with ferry tanks, those big like 600-gallon drop tanks and shit, that's pretty rare stuff. That's more what bombers are designed to do. Although fighters do it from time to time. Like the Israelis right now, they're flying from Israel to Iran and back. It's a pretty long flight. But yeah, there's a tube you
They
pee
don't
in.
land in like Azerbaijan or anything.
I'm not sure how the Israelis are operating with those details. My understanding is they're just hitting tankers in the Gulf Coast and then going to Iran. And I know a few of them, when they were on their way back to Israel from Iran, hit targets in Lebanon that were Hezbollah targets because they hadn't dropped their
Yeah.
munitions on Iran. So
They can also get
I'm
refueled
not
midair,
sure.
apparently, or some of them can, which
Yeah, any aircraft in the U.S. Air Force is every single U.S. and also U.S. Army and also U.S. Navy and also U.S. Marine Corps aircraft is capable of being ran with fuel. And all of the aircraft we've sold to Israel, all the aircraft the U.S. has produced really since the 60s are designed to be fueled in the air, across the board. Helicopters, fixed wing. There's different methods. The Navy and Army do it the wrong way, and the Air Force does it the right way. But yeah, they can refuel in the air. Although keep in mind, like refueling in the air, obviously you still got to worry about the pilot. You really don't want a fighter in the air for more than like 9 hours is really fucking pushing it. Like that's really the limit of what a human being can like focus and concentrate on. But even if you had like a UAV with a lot of these jet engines, like 9 hours is really pushing what the engine can do. Like it needs oil changes and stuff, and it needs maintenance. And the plane, the stresses you put on these aircraft is incredible. Even the bombers, like a B-52, you could fit enough food and water in there to keep a crew alive and rotating and sleeping in the bunks for months. But it eventually needs to land and have maintenance done to the engines, and that's in only a few days of flight time.
Oh, okay. Adi says that they've been going there and back, like the IAF.
Yeah.
So, and she said
Yeah.
that maintenance has been working around
My
the
understanding.
clock. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and by the way, the maintainers, you guys have no idea. Every hour you're flying an F-16, you can expect 10 to 15 hours of maintenance. Every hour you fly an F-15, you can expect 30 hours of maintenance. Every hour you fly a B-1 Lancer, you can expect 500 hours of maintenance in man hours. Yeah. Like the work these maintainers put in. If anybody listening has like friends in the IDF that are maintainers, or any Americans that have friends in the U.S. Air Force that are maintainers, you probably haven't heard from them in a week or two. And they're probably working like 16-hour days right now. It's the amount of work that you need to keep these aircraft flying is completely unbelievable.
God damn, that's fucking crazy. I did not expect that it would be so insane like that. God damn. Vanaloven is asking weird questions in chat, like about like fucking wank sessions in cockpits and shit. I'm not. F-15.
There's a song. So there's this band called Dos Gringos, and it was two F-16 pilots that retired. They made a band, and he actually has a song about jacking off in a flight over the Atlantic to bomb people in Iraq. It's a real song out there.
But that's an F-16. There's only one seat in that plane. I'm assuming.
In the ones we fly, yeah. There's other. So the Air Force has the A and C models of the F-16, and those go block 0 to like block. I don't know what fucking block Lockheed's at these days. Maybe I think block 80 or something. But Air Force, most of them are like block 52. But we have the A and C model, which are single seat. Taiwan and a couple European allies like Bulgaria have the V models, which they do have a 2-seat configuration for that version of the F-16. But the U.S. has never flown the 2-seat. We're retiring the F-16, so.
Oh yes. RIP F-16s. Okay, wait. Oh, Barabas asked something about if you felt physical pain when we destroyed our old Tomcats. I don't know what that means. Is that were those like fighters that the
No,
US?
I don't. I mean, there's Tomcats in museums in the U.S., right? Like they're not. It's not like you can't go see them, right? The ones the Iranians have aren't special. They're just Tomcats. I also don't think the Tomcat is. I know a lot of people like it because it's in Top Gun and it's like kind of the star and it created this whole like cultural movement. Um, I don't see it as that exceptional of an airplane. It's a good airplane. There's other good airplanes from the Cold War. I think the Soviets, and also the U.S. made other airplanes just as good as the kind of things the F-14 did.
Okay. Oh, it's an F-14. That explains it a lot. I don't remember all these planes by their code names. Might be easier.
Yeah, the
to
whole
do that.
Iranian Air Force is all old American planes. Well, some of them are old Russian planes, but they have a lot of F-5 Freedom Fighters. We sold them. They have a lot. Well, they had a lot of F-5s. They had a lot of F-14 Tomcats. All those are gone by now, probably.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, have you seen that Japan deployed its first long-range missiles near China?
Yeah, the Chinese are
They're
throwing
not
a fit.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really
they're,
funny when you see like
Thanks for the
statements from
$5,
like the
Barabas.
foreign ministry of China, and like in Chinese it's just complete like schizophrenic nonsense, and like the English translated version is like pretty mild.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But
the Chinese are. I don't think people realize like we are living through like they're calling it the second Taiwan missile crisis, but the deployments of U.S. Nemesis and Typhoon missiles to the Philippines and to the first island chain, and then Japan following right after with deploying their ordering the deployment of their first ever long range strike missiles, which by the way, up until very recently, the Japanese Constitution said they couldn't have. They're deploying them to Senkaku and to Okinawa and other parts of their southern islands. It is like, as I'm just being honest, it's as aggressive a move as the Soviets putting weapons on Cuba, which is based. When we do it, not when they do it. And like the Chinese are apoplectic. They've cut all rare earths to Japan. They're trying to embargo
Yeah.
Japan. They like had Chinese diplomats leave Japan. Like things are really escalating, and they keep escalating because the Japanese Prime Minister Takahashi went and came out and said, you know, if if China invaded Taiwan, it'd be an existential threat, and we'd have to do something about it. Right before deploying these missiles that can reach Chinese ships trying to land on Taiwan from Japanese soil.
yeah, it has like a
and
1,000-kilometer range. It's crazy.
Yeah, these are some of the best some of the best anti-ship weapons in the world. They're better than anything the US operates, mostly because what they are basically is the Japanese looked at what we did because we share all our technology with them. There's a two-way technology sharing agreement with Japan. And then they took that and they did it, but today, not in the 1980s, right? So it's just a newer version of
I
what
was
we
gonna
made
say,
in the 80s.
I'm expecting that the Japanese are gonna make some fucking amazing shit because they're really good at making things and stuff. Like a lot of the really cool tech we have comes from them, and yeah, they always make good shit.
Well, they also
so.
have a lot of money and not many people, right? They're a rich country with like the worst demographics in the world, basically. So they don't have many young people to put in uniform. So they do have a lot of money to spend on like really high technology. It's one of those things like people make fun of the Germans for in World War II because they had these big expensive tanks, but like Germany ran out of people before it ran out of money. So maybe people overestimate how bad of an idea that is sometimes.
Oh boy, Arthur's in the waiting room. Before I get to that, I want to ask you. Before I pull Arthur in here, there's one other question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yesterday, I was watching a progressive lady who was on Breaking Points with Crystal Ball and Ryan Grimm. Yes,
Yeah.
this is cringe as fuck. And she was saying stuff about how with China, she was like, we should keep trying to like do diplomacy with them, and also we should find some way to work with them. But then she said ultimately, if China gets invaded, or if China invades Taiwan, then the United States should help them. Yes, Kat Abu, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, Kat Abu Gazela, and I kind of just wondered like what your thoughts were on like this notion or whatever, because it kind of seems like China just doesn't want to, or do they want to work with the U.S.? I don't know. Like they keep fucking around, and I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
the Chinese, right? So obviously, there's the Chinese people, which mostly don't care, right? They just want to be left the fuck alone. But like understanding China is a totalitarian state run by one man who has complete grip on the party in a way nobody has since Mao Zedong was alive, right? So it's really important we understand this about Xi. He has
Yeah.
purged the party so many times. He is the only voice. He's the only power. There is no check. What he says goes. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. So you
Hmm.
have to understand that this is how Chinese foreign policy is operating right now. So what really matters is how Xi sees the world, right? It's less how the Chinese people see the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Xi, he's pretty open. He's written books. He's written books about how he plans to govern China. He gives speeches to communist conferences. They're in Chinese, so you got to translate, and it's a bit of a pain in the ass. But those translations are there. You can read them. He's pretty open about his plans and what he thinks about the West, and he's pretty clear that he sees the liberal world order as incompatible with Chinese socialism, which is what he calls whatever it is they have today.
Oh. Okay.
And yeah, and he really does think that he needs to work with the Russians and other emerging powers that are threatening the liberal system that exists globally. I mean, whether or not it still even exists is a complicated question, but the way Xi sees it is that the lines that were drawn by the Western imperial powers during the century of humiliation are illegitimate. They're upheld by an illegitimate global community. Neither of these have a right to exist, and China's going to rejuvenate itself. And if people don't like it, then they don't like it. But it's an internal Chinese affair, and the imperialist powers need to stay out of it. So that's how the Chinese kind of Communist Party under Xi looks at the issue. And it seems pretty clear that they're going to unify with Taiwan regardless of what we think about it. And it seems pretty clear that the U.S. position is also incompatible with that we would go to war to defend Taiwan. So that's kind of why, you would look at the conflict as intractable. But yeah, like diplomacy, if we can find a way out of this situation without going to war, that's absolutely preferable, of course. I'm just, that's not where we're trending towards.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair. I interesting. Thank you. Hello, Arthur. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Did you have questions for Epic? Are you here to argue with them?
I'm not here to argue, although that is a thing we could do, just not on stream.
I do have to go in 10 minutes, but feel free with whatever.
I have two questions that could take up 10 minutes or take up 2 sentences. First, there's a bunch of like information about really all military related or like geopolitics stuff. And there's obviously like the retards. You could pick your favorite Twitter account. There's also like the Peter Zahan, who's like sounds plausibly intelligent, maybe to an untrained ear, or if you're not, caught up on the question, and sometimes gets stuff right, which is also like not helpful in this sense. And then there's like the category of people like Perun, like William Spaniel, like Operations Room was pretty good. So the question is, how do you separate the retards from non-retards?
Yeah.
Is there like
I think,
tool set that you're using?
Part of it is understanding that we're all kind of retarded. There's areas where I'm going to sound just as delusional as some of the people I have issues with when I'm talking about areas I'm just outside of my competencies. So I think just like you mentioned Zyhan, I've listened to some of this stuff. I think he gave like a lecture, a TED Talk or something I listened to like a year or two ago. I think it was about like the German industrial system or something like that. But like he sounds like a guy who's very intelligent in certain ways, and I would listen to, and I would just keep in mind where I see competency and where I don't, and I would just have a critical approach to kind of integrating what I'm hearing there with like a broader understanding I might have. I'm trying to think of an example that isn't Zion that I'd be able to like speak more confidently on. Brian Macbeth, okay? He's
Oof.
kind of an idiot,
Oh
right? He
boy.
goes on Newsmax.
Yeah.
He's a right wing bro. He's kind of he's kind of retarded, right? But he's an
Mhm.
army soldier with decades of experience that works in the security field with a good background on cybersecurity. And if he's talking about cybersecurity, I'm probably going to like value that information, and I'm still going to verify that it fits with other sources I can access. But there's probably I should probably listen to that. But I'm not going to listen to him when he talks about protests in fucking Minneapolis. I could care less what that retard thinks about that set of ideas. But when he's talking about like stuff directly related to his background as a non-commissioned army soldier in the army, as someone with decades of experience and probably been back and forth to different, the Army War College and different NCO schools, and has probably learned decades of really valuable information in his field, I would value information that comes in the confines of that field.
Okay, I guess follow up to that then is within your given area of expertise. For you, it would be like, I guess Air Force doctrine would
It'd
be
be
one, and
basically air
flying.
domain warfare in the air domain, flying in the air domain, pretty much is the areas where I have a education. It's kind of broad how we do like military science. A lot of it's military history stuff, but yeah, the focus is air power, warfighting in the air domain, flying aircraft, stuff
Sure.
like that.
I was trying not to make it too broad on the
Yeah.
fear of being incorrect, but sure. Within that field, you surely have disagreements. Like, I cannot envision a field where something is like completely settled. There might be like
Yeah.
broad maxims that are, but like hot contested issues, especially in like the day to day, would arise. So
For sure, yeah.
let's say you're listening to Ryan Macbeth on like I don't know, the employment of the TOW missile or something. There might be his take, and there might be some other like school of thought as per anti-tank guided weapons or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
How do you separate like where you've gotten enough like feel of the field without like being in it, to be like, okay, I think I have a broad enough perspective to like take Ryan Macbeth's perspective, for example, as true enough for my needs, as opposed to like,
Well,
I might need to go and investigate. Yeah.
I think if someone is like giving you so like if you were to ask me about like there is a big question right now about like to what extent the U.S. Air Force should invest in more bombers versus more tactical aircraft, and there's very intelligent people on both sides of this. If you were to ask me my opinion and I were to just tell you my opinion and not also give you a good faith, my best understanding of the counter argument on the other side and tell you that there were experts who also fell behind that argument, I think if I repeatedly did that, that should be a red flag and you should stop listening to me. And that's kind of what I apply. Like, if there were areas where I felt Macbeth was like selling his opinion as a consensus without like saying like, you know what, this is an area where there is argument among experts, that would be a problem for me. And I try to, just identify those patterns and avoid taking those people all that seriously, except, is kind of an entertainment source.
Oh, someone just said in the chat, dumb question, but does it mean that you asking Epic about Budapest Memorandum stuff is the same as Epic listening to about protests by Ryan? I think they're asking, is like you talking about the Budapest Memorandum the same?
I'd say it's not the same, but it's moving in that direction, sure. So like with the Budapest Memorandum, again, so my major focus, the thing I majored in with my civilian education was originally aerospace engineering, and then I went back and also got a professional flight degree, which is like so similar. This is like taking a few extra classes, right? So that's my civilian. That's like the major on my bachelor's of science, right? But then I also had to do general military course. I had to go to the War College, and we do learn about things like major treaties and stuff. But again, that's like a secondary education thing for me, where I have a limited understanding, very generalized. And I think during that conversation, I said, I'm not certain. This isn't my area of focus, but this is my understanding. And I think people should be careful with those disclaimers. So there's areas where I have like a broad, like, I talked a lot about the Pacific War. When I took my general military courses, I had to learn about the Pacific War. But I'm not a history major. That wasn't like something I spent all 4 years of my education on. That's something that was like a semester,
Yeah.
during that program.
It seemed like you're just
and
really interested in
yeah.
that history stuff too, and in particular the Pacific
Oh
War.
yeah, of
get
course. I
that.
mean, there's a reason it's not like I was drafted, right? Like I chose my career. I chose to focus on the things I did. I was excited to take those classes,
Mhm.
It's definitely history I think is really fascinating. And obviously there's areas outside of my education where I, for fun read, I grew up watching like History Channel stuff back when it was like not the Alien Channel. But to be clear, yeah, that is moving towards that Macbeth direction. Like when I'm talking about the Budapest Memorandum, I'm talking about something I learned very briefly. I know very basically, and I'm not talking as like an expert in international law. But I feel like, and anybody here can disagree, feel like I'm pretty consistent about saying like, just be careful. I'm not 100% on this one. This is more limited. I tend to give those disclaimers, I think. But
Okay. Anyway, go on, Arthur, if you had other questions to ask. I don't know if there's anything else from the chat.
I do.
Go on.
There's a segue question that's like, in general, if I were to go on, a specialist Twitter and be like, hello, CSIS, hello, CIPRI, hello, IISS, or that and the other kind of think tanky foreign policy space, I would get way fewer caveats of we have opinion X and then there's an expert group opinion Y. That's like that and the other kind of good faith presentation that disagrees with us in this way. So this paired with like, I understand this is like also outside the area of expertise of Gamers Nexus, but still, just as an example, CSIS was like, or at least as presented by Gamers Nexus, caveats. Domestic surveillance with AI is like fine, or all these internet accessible cameras on the streets are fine. There's nothing to fear, right? So it seems that even the accredited experts, supposedly working in kind of policy support areas, are not reliable, or is my read here off? And the follow
I
up
don't
to
think
that
you're
would be like,
off, although
segue.
I think we look at it a bit structurally differently. I do have to go after this, but I'll say this. So when I'm looking like at CSIS, I'm looking at this. This is like a forum where they're going to host different experts. Like they have a lot of like panels where it will be like 2 admirals and maybe a former Secretary of State or something. And I think these people carry a different perspective. Like you mentioned the camera thing. I'm not familiar with. I think I know what you're talking about with the cameras on the streets. I'm not familiar with the response where they said, "Oh, this is a great idea." But taking what you described, probably from a national security standpoint, if you're a national security expert, you're going to think that's a great idea because you're thinking about how it can enhance our ability to pursue national security objectives. And then if you sat another person down who's from Congress, they'd probably have a very different opinion because they're getting a bunch of phone calls from people worried about like how this interacts with, the Fourth Amendment and like privacy and things like that. And I don't really see these perspectives as like one's more valid than the other. I think these are just like different areas of focus leading to different like thought patterns.
Okay, but even within the area of expertise, right? I just cut me off whenever you have to go, but like there was an incident some time ago when CSIS put out like a big article, not the daily ones that they put out, but like a deep dive, where they said,
Yeah.
quote, Russia is like in phase 0 of preparation with war with NATO, but
Yeah.
Russia hasn't made the decision to go to war with NATO or some such. And it was like they're saying it and not saying it kind of dynamic going on, which Vlad Vexler called out pretty well. Who strikes me as a very intelligent person, so I'm like quoting him here.
Well,
despite
but
it being
that's
outside
true,
of his-
right? Russia has like gone through pretty much all the phases of preparation to fight a war with NATO. They just clearly don't have the political support to do it, right?
Well, no. And again, I don't want to get the question because that would take a while. It's just, it seems even within the domain expertise, let's say the CSIS vis-a-vis European security.
I had one other question, but I'll let, I don't know if we'll be able to get to it or not, but yeah, somebody Lannis was asking
Yeah, I mean,
about why
I can
A10s were used, but
do
anyway.
this a few more minutes.
So what'd you say?
I mean,
Okay.
Well, I think I might be misunderstanding, but I think you're saying the SIS did this analysis where they said Russia's, in like phase 0 of preparation for war with NATO, and you're saying you disagree with that assumption, right?
They were saying and not saying at the same time that Russia was like ready to go to war with NATO, basically. Which
I guess I
to
would
me
need
is
to
undermined.
read the article to understand better.
Okay.
But I mean,
Okay.
if you link it to me, I'll read it and we can talk about it later.
Sure thing.
Okay.
I'll get out of here.
Thanks, Arthur.
Oh no, I'm not. I didn't mean it like that. I meant genuinely. I'm
No,
just
no,
running out of time. But if you link it to
someone
me,
else
I'll
got a
take a look.
question. So yeah, no.
Oh yeah, I'll do whatever Belinda wanted to say.
Oh, the A10s. Lannis was asking. He said.
Oh.
He said. Hold on. What did he say? He said, "Epic. Why A10s were used? Isn't it dangerous to fly them here or there?" I'm guessing he's talking about A10 requires air supremacy and armor to shoot. Oh, that's what Keep Your Bilstein said. I don't
The
know what-
A-10's an attack aircraft.
Okay.
Attack aircraft are specialized mostly in like close air support, battlefield air interdiction, light attack kind of roles, like blowing stuff up on the ground that's like at the line of contact normally. But that was what it was designed to do in like the 60s, and it's been a long time. And the plane's being retired. The last A-10 crew's already been trained. They're all slowly being phased out. So they're trying to get use out of them while they can. And a few of the areas they found to get use out of them right now is they can strap them full of glide bombs and they can fly up to their service ceiling and they can drop a bunch of glide bombs that can glide like 50 miles and hit stuff kind of standoff style. Another thing they've been used for is they have this gun that can shoot really cheap ammo, which, by the way, the Air Force isn't going to need after the plane's retired anyways. And that gun is great for like shooting down drones like Shaheeds, and the A-10 is fast enough to face down a Shaheed, and that's a really cheap way to deal with Shaheeds. Another area is all these Iranian fast attack boats, the little like speedboat, motorboat, fishing boat looking things where they put like drones or rocket launchers on them. The A-10, again, that 30 millimeter gun will sink those boats, and it'll do it really cheaply compared to like an anti-ship missile. So these are just areas they're like kind of getting like one last hurrah of the airplane to get the last bit of value from them before they're all retired in a year or two.
The A10 looks really cool. That's all I'll say. I don't really have anything else to add.
Anyways, have a good one. I
Yeah,
gotta go.
see you later. Bye, Epic. All right, guys. Oh, hey, Arthur. You're still here. Sup?
I am, yes.
Want to argue about Russia? I feel like I didn't push back on you enough when you were saying something about how the movement of the first wasn't that bad or whatever, but I don't know if that I was trying to find information about it because that I don't think that is like I don't know, because my understanding when I initially
Reflexively contrarian.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so
I should push back against you
I wasn't
more
saying they were
as-
good.
Okay.
That's fair.
I
I wasn't
should-
saying they were good. I was just like trying to humanize them a little bit.
I mean, it's probably fair to say that they're better than the Russian youth army or whatever, and at least for like the activities they have kids do, I guess. But yeah, I think that's the name of the other one, right? The one that basically is like a militaristic organization that trains kids to do like military shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good. And to be perfectly like cards on the table here, Movement of the First also does participate in those games. They literally do like it's called Zernitsa.
Oh yeah,
which-
yeah. Yes. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can explain.
That's
it
perfectly
better.
a thing. Yeah. Oh, oh boy. It's supposedly like a cultural touchstone, but it kind of avoided me. Because back in the Soviet Union, the like conscription military stuff was like way more pernicious. And so I want to say middle school and up, kids would do like war games. It's like, hey, here's like a dummy AK-47, and you could run around and like take positions and like command and like yell at each other, do all these kind of random things. And this was called Zarnitsa. I think that has some, like, I'm not an etymology person, but it feels like it has something to do with a like tag game variation that we got going on here. And it sounds also similar to like Dawn, I don't know, just fun facts, right?
Hmm.
And this game was resurrected some time ago. At this point, I want to say like 10 years ago ish.
I think it was around
7 to 10 years ago.
the invasion, or after the invasion of Crimea, because there were kids there who had managed to leave, who talked about how they started doing it there. Although maybe they probably also started doing it in Russia, I'm guessing too. But yeah, it was probably around 2014, 2015 maybe.
That sounds about right, yeah. And it involves kids. Nowadays I've seen like stands of at public events where I do work for the Red Cross. It's like stand next to us might be a flight simulator, with a Xbox controller or some such, where you're flying an FPV drone, or you might be flying a Lancet, gliding, not gliding, loitering munition, and you're supposed to like take down a Caesar 8x8 or a Ukrainian M777 or this that and the other, and this has like the labeling of Zernitsa. It's got like machine guns and stuff, props, but still, it's disheartening, and it's all under the wounds of the first. But like, I just it's like calling Boy Scouts kind of a pipeline to the U.S. military in like the 50s, 60s. So I'm sure they did have some cooperation there, but it's like, come on.
Oh yeah,
Balance
no,
the
I
that's
get it.
my
Yeah. I mean, I just don't like the fact that, because like I know that Ukrainian kids have been like drafted into the movement of the first, and how that was all like came about or whatever. But at this point, it's also very possible that there are some. I think there's some Ukrainian kids that have also been drafted into the Russian Youth Army as well too. I'm sure that's not actually what it's called. Fuck. What is it
good.
actually? Yeah, because I know that there's
Young
been
Army.
a bunch of stuff with that. Yeah. The Young Army, is that what it's called?
In Russian, it's like Yun Army.
Oh.
Yun Army, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Young Army movement.
But
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some
Go on, Mina.
thing I wanted to say. You said earlier something along the lines of like La Wexler and the like. I think he's great when we're talking about theory, like if we're talking like philosophy, because that's his whole thing, right? But I think when it comes to like psychoanalyzing what specific, I don't know, heads of states think or want or whatever, I think that's where he kind of loses me. Because it's not his, how do you say, his like
area of expertise.
Exactly.
I haven't watched enough or like much of all. I think I watched one video of his on Soviet nostalgia, and Johan really wants me to watch him because apparently watching him is going to blackmail me on the future of democracy or some shit. But yeah, otherwise I haven't really. But I'd be curious what he says about Putin. But anyway, go ahead, Mina. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. As for like anything, people seem to think that there's some semblance of like politics within like militaries. At least like I wouldn't say that is the case with regards to like Western aligned militaries. But when it comes, I like obviously I'm just speaking out of my ass here, right? I'm not a fucking expert. I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. But when it comes to like talking about what's the Russian military like and
Hold
what's
on
the
one
Chinese
sec.
military like,
Sorry
and
to cut you off, but holy fuck, Putin and Trump are
Yeah.
talking again. Oh Jesus, about the Iran and Ukraine wars. Oh God. Ugh, this is
lovely.
worrisome. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Like I think politics in the Western militaries don't necessarily have that. Like, obviously, yes, the politics has an impact, considering that it's the politics that are making, that are saying, okay, this is what we want, and then the military kind of does it. But when it comes to like what's realistic, like for example, when you said that Russia is gearing up to have a war with NATO, I would say yeah, they've been doing that for a while now, because Putin has always said like, yeah, we want the former Soviet states back and blah 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 blah. But when it comes to, I feel like when it comes to like realistically, obviously you can have all of the assets in the world, but when you don't have the people to do all of that, because okay, obviously I really really hate doing this like kind of comparison between like, oh, what would a war look like in NATO, and then you take a bunch of examples from Ukraine, because it wouldn't be the same. But when it comes to demographics, Russia is looking a bit bleak demographically. Obviously they could mobilize, but that doesn't seem to be that popular. I'm not sure how popular it would be to mobilize against NATO, because mobilizing against Ukraine, mobilizing against NATO, like that's like two different things when it comes to like support from the populace. But all in all, like, okay, you have basically expended the soldiers that know how to use these assets well are pretty much dead in Russia, right? So you just have
What are
like
these assets?
Fighting
like
NATO?
assets like no, I
Like
mean
tanks, aircraft? What do you
yeah,
mean? Ships?
air defense, infantry, anything like that. My child's crying again. But I feel like, okay, you have these soldiers that are pretty much dead because they died in Ukraine. And yeah, you obviously still have like soldiers, in the back that are training and all of that, but in the end, like, you're gonna have very unqualified people fielding these assets in theater. It seems like pretty bad situation to be in the future. No?
Assuming all you've said is true, that would be correct, yes. I would caution, though, to say that there's no like specialized people, there's no like organizational experience, I suppose. Because there are a lot of push factors and a lot of pull factors kind of in the opposite directions. On one hand, you do obviously get a whole lot of attrition, you get a lot of people who are trying to leave, you get people who are like running off and kind of hating the organization that is the military, right? Despite having qualifications. There was a fairly big splash story, I want to say like a year ago, maybe a year and a half, because it was in the summer, where two like very good, at least reportedly, drone pilots, not FPV ones, but like both reconnaissance drones, like fixed wing Orlan drones, for example. There was the they did fly FPVs too, but like these very qualified professionals were sent into like a meat grinder, like mass assault, or not mass assault, but like, you know what I mean, like individual, like here's a rifle, go storm the trench kind of assault, right? And this story tells you two things. One, you do have these professional or now like battle hardened, experienced personnel in the military. And on the other hand, you can also see the factor that's like they're being removed, whether through natural attrition, through like get fucked because you didn't pay us enough, us being the local command elements. So I wouldn't claim any expertise here to say which one of those is greater as a factor. And without that, you can't really say, oh, there's not going to be enough tank crews or drone pilots or aircraft pilots or ground-based air defense or whatever it might be. But at the same time, there's like military experience to consider. So it's like not, not trivial.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm not answering directly. I'm just like I can hear you have a wireless headset, but I'm like
I wanted
taking
to
care of my kid.
I wanted to ask you something. There was something that I was thinking of for a second there, but fuck, what was it? Oh yeah. Oh wait, I think we talked about this before. I was gonna say that that like it seems like I was rewatching an old debate that Dylan did last night in preparation for my Lactoid debate, which I think I'm gonna schedule for the first week of April maybe. But I was listening to that and I was thinking that actually wait, no, I'm gonna go a different way. Sorry. Alex K said something in chat where he said like does what was it? Where he said why would Russia get into a hot war with NATO when it could just keep weakening us by supporting far-right isolationist parties, though?
Two pets.
Oh, thank you for the $2. I will give him 2 pets. Anyway, yeah.
The Vlad Vaxler answer, whom I trust because he strikes me as way more intelligent than me and way more like in the weeds and way more comprehending, I guess, of the situation in like Russian internal politics, interestingly, is the Russian, or not Russian, I guess Putin specifically, theory of victory here is to challenge Article 5 and basically call the Western alliance's bluff. The logic would go something like this. You say on this piece of paper that everyone around the world, besides myself, obviously, views as this ironclad guarantee of security, which would turn, you guys into like an RTS faction. You would all come together immediately in a joint command. You do all these things to like make sure this kind of credibility is projected, and you coordinate, you train together, etc., etc. However, if you don't have the political will, really, what it says in Article 5 is that there's going to be a meeting. And then people will do, quote, what they deem necessary. And that might be like sending a couple safety blankets and, warm regards, or whatever it might be, right?
Oh, yeah, because NATO Article 5 does not mean that, like, military aid or whatever. Like, Article 5 could literally just be, we're just going to send you some stuff. It doesn't mean, yeah. I was surprised to learn that, but, Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, if Russia were to, have some soldiers wander across the northern Estonian border and be like, oh, sorry, this little town of, let's say, 50,000 people, I forget how big the cities in that area are, but, proverbially, we just chose to camp out. We were just lost, and, we need fuel, and we paid for it, but it's like, we also need a place to stay, so we kind of, knocked on the doors, and we're like, can we, stay, please? We'll put the guns away, right, in the back. And the question is, would the, swing voter in, rural Ohio or, rural Pennsylvania be like, yes, therefore, nuclear weapons are on the table against Russia? Or, your AFD voter or your reform voter in, depressed Northern England. Would those people be like, yes, actually, Article 5 means we go to war? Or are they going to be like, whatever? And then, as a result, it's like, okay, a NATO member is attacked, and then they lose territory de facto, and then Article 5 doesn't get activated. Like, what does that mean?
I'm not
What does-
sure. Okay.
That's the Putin's theory of victory as laid out by like Vlad Vexler, and it seems compelling to me.
By the way, this kind of does seem like, because I kind of got the impression, and I think some people were saying that this was likely what was potentially happening, was that Putin was kind of testing the waters to see like just how much he could get away with, because like those drones, I think those Russian drones flew over into Polish airspace, and nobody did the Poles shoot them down? I don't think they did, and then they flew back into Ukraine.
They did.
And did they shoot them down?
There were at least a couple attempts. There was a wave of 50 drones, some of which fell in Poland. One as far as Gdansk. I want to say one. But like some of those drones were intercepted by like Polish and I want to say Lithuanian F-16s? Question mark? That was a thing. Some did turn back into Ukraine. That was a thing. But I want to say there was like multiple incidents involving that. There were also for a while strikes of Ukraine with drones flying through Romanian airspace. So without like falling in Romania itself, but still violating the air boundary, if you like.
Oh, wait.
go
You
ahead.
mean Ukrainian drones went through Romanian airspace, or you mean that Russia was...
Russian drones targeting Ukraine.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. All right. Yeah. That was the impression that I kind of was getting there. Was it seemed like there was some, but maybe that was just an accident. I have no idea. But because now you say that it happened in two countries, it kind of makes me wonder if maybe Putin is kind of like, testing the waters and seeing what he can get away with, seeing how much people are going to give a fuck if he starts like pushing those kinds of boundaries and stuff. But Mina, you were going to say something.
I think that the Russians, or at least Putin, believes that like NATO won't defend itself, but I believe it's like a pretty gross miscalculation when it comes to Eastern Europe, because the Eastern Europeans remember. Like if you talk to any like old Eastern European that was in the Soviet Union, like they're not like they're pretty fucking upset about everything, and like you can see that by the amount of shit they procure, the amount of like even like when it comes to like service related things, like they are pretty on top, especially like the Poles.
Oh yeah, the Poles seem real eager to like go after
well, it's not
Russians.
just the Poles, like the Baltics too. Even like the southern Eastern European countries, like they all like they're like just try us. And what I am concerned with is mainly what Western Europe is gonna do. And that's, I think, debatable. Like what exactly Western Europe is gonna, like whether they're gonna be serious about Article 5 or not, considering how vague Article 5 even is. I think overall that Europe is definitely gonna defend itself, whether it be like domestic, because we are in hybrid warfare, and our government's like we are in a hybrid war with Russia, and that's pretty evident considering everything that's happening in the news in Europe, like when it comes to drones halting our airports, when it comes to arson attacks, when it comes to even our domestic politics, when we see like oh, who's taking money from where? Oh, it's of course the fucking far right lunatics are taking fucking money from Russia and China as per usual, right? You can see this like all the fucking time. And all in all, I think what is probably one of the biggest issues is that Western Europe kind of lives in a bubble still. Eastern Europe, not so much. Western Europe, definitely, because we have a bunch of generations now that have never seen war in their lifetime or any occupation really. Like, even the occupation of Germany post World War II, like, most people don't fucking remember that shit. And, like, people don't really understand, like, that to keep peace, you need to defend peace. You can't just have peace by not doing anything. You like a lot of people here believe that like you can keep your peace by demilitarizing, not going to war, not getting conscripted, not blah blah blah, right? But they don't understand that like the world is not fucking
War bad. Anyway, yeah.
yeah, that they don't understand that the world is not like fucking flowers and little bunnies hopping in the fucking forest, okay? Like yeah, there's gonna be bad actors that wanna just like there's fucking criminality, there's like there's probably never gonna be like ever like no criminality. It's the same with like when it comes to wars and like conquest and imperialism and whatever. Like you're always gonna have somebody that's gonna want to exploit whatever loopholes you have. And yeah, like but I think as soon as like they realize, oh shit is popping off, and you can see, especially like within Western Europe, as soon as like they see like maybe drones attacking infrastructure or something like that, or even missiles attacking infrastructure, as soon as they see that, I think they will like realize, oh yeah, I think we need to do something because you know, they believe that like, oh yeah, if there's war, I'm just gonna run away. But like, run where? Where are you gonna go? Like, like people genuinely believe they can just take a fucking airplane and just like travel to fucking Bali or whatever? Like they think they can just like escape like when there's when shit gets hot, like they don't understand that like airspaces get like closed and shit. They don't understand anything of that manner, so they don't understand that like yeah, you're gonna be either staying in place or staying in traffic for like fucking days. Like yeah, anyways, it's people live like in fucking La La Land. So like I think as soon as like there's bombs going off over the heads, I think yeah.
Yeah, okay. One aside, apparently the Justice Ministry Pardons Department determines that that Bibi's pardon request ought to be rejected, which, you know, I'm sure that Israelis in the chat, woohoo, if that's true. Anyway, I think I'm probably gonna end soon because it's almost 5 o'clock, and I did say this was gonna be a shorter stream. I don't know if there was oh, Addie knew that it was basically that was going to happen. I don't know if there's any more crazy updates with regards to, it doesn't look like there is with regards to Iran. And yeah, I think that's probably all kind of the same sort of thing. I was trying to think of, was there any other Russia stuff that was going on, but oh, Arthur, I don't know. Did you go look at those telegrams, or was it mostly Octo who did it when I asked you guys? And then I decided maybe it was not a good idea to make you guys go look at fucking telegrams that have drone videos of people getting killed in Kherson on them, so that I could like throw them at Lactoid and be like, hey, is this not real? Because I could not believe that he denied the Kherson human safari shit.
I did not end up doing that because I was out doing shenanigans. So
Oh.
I was when I saw that Octo was looking at them, I was like, oh, okay. And then by the time it was available, I was like, I read the chat and was like, oh, it's done. It's like, oh well, it's okay.
Yeah, I found a couple. It was really hard to go through there and find, because I don't have Telegram. I was literally just scrolling through that thing, and a lot of the videos said like media cannot be played or whatever. But yeah. Oh, Fellrunner, that sounds great. Thank you. Yes, for content tomorrow, I'll post Connor's convo with Tellybots this morning. Wait, what was it about? Anyhow, yeah. Oh, it's Epstein. Ah, okay. That actually might be an interesting combo, but oh, here's a question. Has Russian media talked about Epstein at all? And how he relates to Trump, or like the extent to which this might be for this war? I wonder how much of that stuff might be being pushed as Russian talking. You're probably gonna have to go look, because I know that you don't watch like Solovyev in your spare time or whatever anymore. So
the opposition media have touched upon some, Russia-specific stuff, i.e., Russian oligarchs being implicated, i.e., Epstein's personal or his team's visits into Russia. I've seen that.
Oh, right. That was also
so
a thing
more
too that I forget about, because nobody in the West gives a fuck about that, because they just want to talk about how Epstein loved Israel. Or yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
None of that is like trivial. It's neither Israel nor Russia that's like, at least as far as I've seen, and I have not looked, I will say, point to Epstein being an asset or even affiliated in any way. It's, to me, a way easier and way more plausible explanation to say that post-Soviet countries, through a myriad of issues and like circumstances, have pretty developed human trafficking stuff, specifically like escorts and sex trafficking / sex recruitment / model agencies, that kind of rather disgusting world. And therefore, they're just a large portion of the global share of the market that will be appealing to old white men in Western countries. Because I doubt you would be, on the hunt for Chinese or, Thai prostitutes. Although I'm sure they exist, right?
Oh, they do, or at least Thai were. Yeah, but I don't know how much Epstein was interested in that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, that's interesting. I haven't looked into it very much in terms of like the Epstein files ties. People were saying that maybe Putin knew Epstein, and that they met, and that there was something there, or that Putin may have facilitated trafficked women to Epstein, and that there may have been something going on there, but I have no idea. No, Lannis, when Arthur was, I don't know if Arthur is a swerf or not. When Arthur was talking about that, I think he meant like, because sex trafficking shit, like all that stuff, all the stuff he mentioned is very coercive. Like, I don't think, especially in Eastern Europe, I don't imagine that most women would go into that. If they did so, they probably did it because they were desperate or whatever, because there's lots of problems. Yeah.
Yeah, it's desperation, not like, oh, it's good, actually. No, it's horrible. It might be on paper kind of a willingness, but it is like out of desperation. It is people being in such circumstances as to say, well, that's my only ticket into life. So, not good. Bad.
Yeah, or the mail order bride shit. Apparently that was also, I don't know how much of a thing that still is, but yeah. Wait, can you ask a Russian Conrad if he watched interview by Gordieva with Ruzevin? If yes, what's his opinion? I have no idea who any of those people are. I don't know if you know either. Hello, Addie.
I know the first name. I don't know who the second. So, like, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can look if it's interesting.
Who's
And get back to you with
Gordieva?
that. Gurdeva is one of
Gurdeva.
the, like, from my understanding, she would be comparable to Oprah. She's like very touchy-feely. She's very compassionate, but also like very deep interviewer. So she would create this kind of personal connection with people and get them to open up about stuff that might be touchy, might be just uncomfortable, might be something they don't often opine upon. For instance, a Russian like pop star of the like Soviet times and Soviet times through to basically 2022 ish, Alla Pugacheva. She has never like commented on politics day to day. You could probably draw a reasonable narrative about her political stance through time. But she just left, I want to say in 2022, and lives in, I want to say Israel, maybe. Point being, she never spoke up about the war or anything else. And only in an interview with Gordeeva that came out like 4 or 5 months ago, she basically said that war in general, especially this one, is bad, which is quite significant because that's her entire legacy. Despite there not being the statement, was just gone because she was viewed as a traitor. Right? No concerts, no radio station plays, no TV stuff. So it's the leaving itself was a big thing. It just wasn't clear. It wasn't verbalized. But Gordeeva managed to get that verbalization out of this person.
Okay. Oh, is it okay? I found two Gordeevas when I looked this up. Is it Katerina Gordeeva? Is it her? Is that her name?
I think so. You should look on YouTube, or I can do that actually.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Apparently, Tel Gordeeva is the name of her show. And then, Medusa. Apparently, it was in cooperation with them, and then they were labeled a foreign agent. So she continued the show independently. In 2022, she became a foreign agent herself. She continued her talk show until February 2024 when one of her guests was arrested. Okay. It doesn't say anything about her leaving, but
No, sorry. I wasn't specific enough. Alla Pugacheva was the big star pop person, left Russia very early into the war.
Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised she's still there if she got labeled as a foreign agent. I thought people went to like prison for that or whatever. Or do they just get in trouble?
Do you want a brief explanation or like a intricate, detailed?
You can give me a brief explanation for now because Addie is here. Oh no,
Sure.
Addie, I'll stay on so that I can get your insight into the BB stuff, and then yeah, after that I'll probably go and yeah. But go on. You can give me a brief explanation now. I'm kind of curious about that. I mean, I see Russia has all kinds of crazy laws. Yeah.
Briefly, foreign agent means you are basically excluded from public life. You can't do education. You can't do public speaking in like enlightening capacity, it's called. If you have earnings from IP stuff, they're going to be put in a separate account and you can't access it until that label is removed. I want to say there might be some limitations on doing like real estate deals, but you can live, you can work, in an office and it's going to be fine. However, if you are a terrorist or an extremist, you're fucked. There will be like, maybe not straight up GTA wanted stars above your head, but like, if you're crossing a border, if you're doing a financial transaction, there will be like a report going out to the police and you might get like yoinked. Your bank accounts are going to be frozen. Including like your, bank cards. You can't buy bread or anything. Good luck.
Oh, okay. Geez.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
That's a brief one.
Okay. And when you say the terrorist thing, you mean like that is obviously kind of like the way that Russia labels things as terrorism. It seems like it's just kind of, I guess, if someone spoke out a lot against the war, would they be labeled as a terrorist or whatever? Or if they called it a war instead of the SF or SFO is I think that's the Russian acronym or whatever.
SMO.
SMO. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
SPO actually in Russian, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's right, yeah.
To like very briefly expand on terrorism stuff, if you want. The recent practice seems to have been taking crimes and upcharging them all the way to terrorism. So, for instance, if you go blow up a, electrical power substation, that would normally be considered a destruction of property charge. And, it's going to carry some, 2 to 5 years or whatever in prison, which not good, but still. Now it's like, boom, terrorism. Why? Well, because fuck you, basically. And there have been like court decisions that were like, well, we need to make an example of this person. As such, we're going to charge them harshly. Not good.
Yeah.
Bad
Okay.
things.
Yeah. All right. I thank you for that info. That's interesting. Addie, did you want to talk about the Israel stuff?
I'm gonna go. Thank
Yeah,
you
I
for
just
having me.
wanted to
Good luck.
explain.
Thank you, Arthur. Have a good one. Okay. Go ahead, Addie.
Anyways, I just wanted to explain that this answer, this rejection that's apparently going to be handed down, should have been handed down on day one. It's the most obvious fucking response. The way that pardons work in this country is not the same as the way it works in the States. He didn't even ask technically for a pardon, but for his case to be thrown out. Because in Israel, pardons require an admission or being found guilty or an admission of guilt, which he did not do. He basically was just like, "Hey, remember all that shitty stuff I was trying to do and weaken the judges and everything? If you throw my case away, then maybe I can stop doing that." Which is not a request for a pardon. It also requires admitting of guilt and regret and acknowledgement for the harm you've done, none of which were included in that. Not only that, but the law explicitly states that you cannot request and or receive pardon in the middle of court proceedings. So, yeah, no shit. But none of this really matters because it's just a recommendation and the president gets to decide whatever he wants. So
is I thought Trump requested that Bibi get pardoned, which by the way is hilariously insane. Like Jesus Christ, interference
beyond inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that actually, his interference is actually probably going to legally complicate potential pardon, but I don't think Bibi's actually going for a pardon. I think he's going for a campaign of the whole world is out to get me. And that's why he wants Trump on his side. He knows that Trump's actions are making it legally more complicated for him because now if he gets a pardon, then there can be people can take it to the Supreme Court as foreign interference, and if it wasn't weighed properly, and if it was possible to weigh properly because of external pressures, and that can be rejected. But it's more about his next election campaign. He doesn't really care about the case anymore, if I'm guessing. Oh,
okay.
Shit. Biggest mosquito I've ever seen in my life.
Wait. Oh, wait. Did you say the biggest mosquito?
Yeah, it looks like a daddy long leg.
Oh,
I got
Jesus.
it.
Okay.
Sleep well.
Okay. Fuck. What was it? There was something else. Oh, you said you mentioned something earlier. People are saying that Bibi's leading in the polls right now, and that he has been for a year or something.
Okay, there's a bunch of different polls. So when people say that Bibi's leading in the polls, they always ask a question of who do you think is the most what's the English word? The most appropriate for the job of prime minister. And they will say they'll put like two party heads or like potential people against each other, and people can like rank them one against the other. Qualified, yes, that's the word. Or neither. And so often in these, when he's put against other like party heads, he comes out ahead. Sometimes sometimes what's his name, Bennett, surpasses him a little bit. Like they're usually neck and neck, and everyone else is pretty far behind. But that doesn't really have anything to do with like voting. It's not like it's not like we vote separately for prime minister. So while it's like interesting to like understand public perception, it's not incredibly relevant. Since he has come into power, and since October 7th as well, he has never ever polled with his coalition enough to form a new coalition.
Okay.
All he wants is basically to like prevent the opposition from being able to form a coalition either, and just going into like rounds and rounds of elections, because there's always between like 10 and 15 votes that are protest votes that won't fucking join a coalition, and I'm so angry at them all the time because it's so stupid and they're fucking up this country. Not more than Bibi, but it's just irritating.
Oh, is RAM one of those? There was like, I think there was one party or
No, Ram is the only one that's chill. They're good.
Yeah, Sev mentioned there was
Everyone
some
else.
group of people or some particular
Yeah.
group of Arab, like I think Arab people, but there was also, I mean, maybe is Hadash one of those too?
Yes.
Okay.
Hadash Tal. They're
It's
ridiculous.
always
Like their
the
bar for
fucking
entry is so
leftists.
high that it's like pointless. And it basically forces us into like round and round and round of election, which means that like basically Bibi would be like the interim prime minister on like a skeleton budget until there's a new prime minister put in, which could be years. Which is still better than him winning again and being able to like do shit, but like not great.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
Which is why I was really scared about the Arab parties running as a joint list, because if Ram joins with the other group with Hadash and Tal, then that's that many less votes that can go into forming a coalition without anyone from the current coalition. And for the record, the opposition minus Hadash, Tal, and Ram, like there's three blocks, right? Like there's like the block that doesn't participate. There's the current coalition and the current opposition. So that's what I'm going to just call them for like the sake of sanity. The current opposition is polling ahead of the current coalition, but they're not hitting 60, which is what you need.
You need 60 seats to form a government?
Well, the Knesset needs to vote the government in on a majority.
Okay.
So technically you can be a minority government, which is actually technically what Bibi has right now, but it just makes it a lot more complicated to actually do things and to like last.
Yeah, and you want there to be an actual government that will be able to stay in power, unlike when the last time Bennett got into power, didn't that last like 5 minutes? I'm being hyperbolic. But,
Well, it lasted a year and a half, which is not bad for our staff. Also, to Van Loven, what he's saying, it depends on what sort of agreement they make when they run, if they're allowed to split afterwards, and that has to do with a lot of politics and negotiations. And if they do run together, then I hope that that's the case, but I don't know if the other parties will allow that kind of thing, because that's obviously just them vote maxing. So, unclear. That's just going to be a negotiation between all of them, and Channel 14 is bullshit. Don't believe anything they say. If Bibi was polling that the current coalition could win, he would have called for elections yesterday. The reason after the 12-day war he was considering like calling elections early, and he collapsed it, and then like gave up because he thought that he would at least be pulling up to 60 right after the war when everyone was in a high, and even then he couldn't. So I'm not very worried about that. I'm just more worried about if the opposition can get their shit together enough to get 60 votes.
Does Bibi have like, I'm guessing, do you guys have like approval ratings or whatever for your prime minister the same way that the US does for the president? Is there some place I can go where I can see this that's like fucking up to date? Because none of this Google shit is. I don't trust this AI.
Yes and no. At least from what I remember, it's possible they have a general approval rating. I don't know. They often will like ask about like how much you believe like what he's doing is for like the good of the country or for like personal gain or like if it's going to be a success or like any of these kind of things. Channel 12 does polls every single week once we get into election year, which is started in October. So, and they ask about all these different things and how much you trust like all of that kind of stuff. But that just depends on the. I don't know if there's like an actual approval rating. I think I don't even know how one would do that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's
I guess
possible.
like the U.S. But I don't know. America's got like a bunch of shit like
Right.
that. So, but
It's just like different metrics that we use here. Like the people that like him don't even like him. You know what I mean? It's like important to understand that.
yeah, that is that is the general thought. Well, I mean, the Channel 14 people like him though. Yeah, like are they, or is that just
No,
right?
their job is to beat him up.
Oh,
Like he's really insufferable as a person and unpleasant to be around. You know, most narcissists are.
okay. That I was not aware of that, but that's also because that I don't follow all the juicy gossip and all the stuff about like what BB is like as a person or whatever. I can imagine Trump is probably insufferable to
put
be
it this way.
around too, but yeah.
No, people actually say that Trump is very pleasant to be around. That he's like he's a good hang. He's a good time. He's fun. He's light. He can like he has social skills, so he can kind of like bounce off of you. BB doesn't have that. He's brilliant and he's cunning and he has a lot of other things, but he's not like he doesn't have friends, you know, that hang around out of like their true love for the dude.
Okay, yeah, I see. All right, fair, yeah. The reason why I felt like Trump maybe might be insufferable is because when he's talking to the press, he always makes everything about himself. But I mean, that doesn't mean that he probably, I would imagine that he has some level of it. That is actually funny, though. Well, yeah, Lannis. Of course, BB's intelligent as a person. Obviously, he lasted like a certain length of time as a yeah.
Oh, he's a very smart guy. He's not the smartest person in the world. He's a very smart guy, and he's very good at what he does. But he does not have social skills. He does not have emotional intelligence. And you can see that in the way that he moves and operates. He could not show up to receive hostages whose parents weren't sycophants of his because like he cannot maneuver those situations. He doesn't know how to like Trump can handle being heckled and kind of like make a joke out of it and kind of like he's not scared of that. BB like can't handle feelings or emotions sent at him. So it's a very different they're just very different types of people.
I'm actually curious if there's videos of that. There must be, like, of him, like, maybe not with the hostages, but of him not being able to handle like that kind of
There
shit or
are.
whatever. I'm sure that
There's
there
a
must be,
reason
but
he doesn't go on any news except Channel 14. There's a reason he only meets with soldiers that are not reservists. There's a reason like he only ever goes to situations where like the people in the crowd are like hand selected. Like he's not dumb and he knows the pictures that come out of those situations are not good because he just freezes up and looks like an idiot and is really or says something really really callous and insensitive and then it fucks him up. Like every time something gets thrown his way, he fumbles it massively. Even if it's like not a really harsh heckle. So they control everything because they have to.
like, did you guys have debates during your election, or is this not a thing that you do, or does BB just not
I mean,
show
he just doesn't talk to anyone.
Oh.
He in a very controlled situation, he'll always like arrange like surprises for his opponents to like catch them off guard, but like in like an even kind of like put them out and like he has no interest in putting himself in that position because he knows he won't do well and he also doesn't want to take that risk. Like he has nothing to gain and everything to lose.
Well, damn. I did not know that. Thank you. That's an interesting. That's kind of funny information. It's interesting that um that he yeah um
Yeah, like they play into each other, but they're different characters, and they help each other, like be worse people, because they have different skill sets.
yeah
But
I'm kind of getting the impression that Trump maybe doesn't like Bibi that much either. I don't know. It's
no,
kind of
he doesn't, and he said as much. But he's very convenient. Why does Trump want Bibi to win the next election? Because he has him by the balls and everything else that he cares about. Like he owns him so fully that obviously he wants him to be in charge because he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and Bibi will be forced to go along with it. Like it's not because he likes him or like
it's funny because
I don't think they're
usually
like
people say it's the other way
yeah.
around, but I mean it's probably I feel like maybe it sort of goes both ways, right? Or like am I because I don't know,
What
like
do you mean?
well Trump wanted or Bibi wanted Trump to win, right? Like in the
Yeah,
US.
because he knew that their interests align more.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sorry, that's what I meant.
He knows how to work with him.
Yeah.
Like he could offer Trump a quid pro quo of like, I will give you all of our natural resources. You will say the thing that I need you to say. We'll take a picture together, and we both win. Like he knows how to work with Trump. He doesn't know how to work with Biden because they just have very different like ways of operating and like moving through the world, and they can't quite understand each other.
Well, you know, Trump is yeah, Trump is very transactional, and I'm getting the impression that Bibi is too.
Yeah.
So that probably works really well.
Well, he understands how to work with people that are transactional. Like it's very easy for him to like kind of. But like, don't be mistaken. Like he is selling his soul and probably half of our countries to America to get what he wants. Like.
Okay, so you're saying that it's actually yeah, it does make more sense because obviously, like Trump.
What would Bibi have over Trump? Like he doesn't have like he can't offer him a plane. He doesn't like what does he have to offer him? You know what I mean? Like what's the trade-off?
Well, you see, I was informed by Mr. Kyle Kulinski that apparently Bibi has sex tapes of Trump fucking children. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I don't.
I'm pretty sure TMZ would have sex tapes of Trump. Like at this point, like, come on, guys.
I feel like yeah, I don't. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. If Epstein recorded secret sex tapes of Trump, like having sex with kids, I cannot imagine someone like Jeffrey Epstein to not keep those things. Even if he did give them to whoever the fuck else. Like I can't.
Why would he give that to anyone? He was also a megalomaniacal narcissist who wanted to be in control. Why would he take the leverage that he has and share it with other people? Like for what? Like you're talking about like truly evil people who are obsessed with controlling everything and everyone and every aspect of everything. Like and they're just gonna share the stuff they have like for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I know it's not. I within that conspiracy theory, the notion was basically that Epstein was working for I don't know Mossad, the Russian FSB, take your pick, and that that they've had him make the tapes and then he handed them over. But if that was the case, he would have still kept.
To what end? Like why would he be working for them? He's super fucking rich. He doesn't need a job.
Yeah.
So like, why is he collecting evidence? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. None of that makes any sense.
It just doesn't. It doesn't. The second you look at it, it like falls apart. It doesn't really make sense. Like
yeah, and that's
he thought he was above the law, obviously, because like he did everything he did anyways.
That stuff would have ended up on TMZ.
He had all the money.
I feel like if he had those tapes, because he totally would have because he hated Trump. Like they fucking hated each other at the end, and it seemed like you could tell that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, he wouldn't have gotten arrested if he had
this notion that like. He worked with a lot of Jewish people because you also have to understand that like until like maybe 30 years ago, Jews couldn't work everywhere. They could not work in like the best law firms or the best real estate firms. They couldn't go to all the same colleges until fairly recently. And so who were they left to work with? They were left to work with the Trumps and the Epsteins and the mafias and all those other things. And so that's the same reason why Trump has such good connections with like the New York Jewish community, because like they were all playing in the same court because no one else would play with them. And like it's not some big conspiracy, they just all get along, and so they kind of help each other out now. It's not some like the reason why Jews hire and work for other Jews is because nobody else did, so we had to look out for our own until like literally like 30, 40 years ago. And even still, like that hasn't really gone away fully. So like yeah, there's going to be a lot of connections there, you know?
Mm. Yeah. Oh, Lana says something about it makes some sense if the Mossad blackmailed Epstein. If I was an agent, I would go about that by blackmailing him. I don't know. I feel like,
Blackmailing him for what?
oh, I guess saying we'll turn you in, but everybody already knew. I don't know. It doesn't really.
He literally went to court and got off scot-free. Like, what exactly is the Mossad going to threaten them with? We're going to make you get another sweetheart deal again that nobody gives a fuck about? Okay.
I feel like the conspiracy theorist loves that. Actually, they don't love that sweetheart deal. That it's so weird that he got that. But then again, he is a rich dude, so I mean, he probably knew people.
He's a rich dude who had a lot of things to offer. I'm sure everyone who was really uncharacteristically nice to him was like, I'd rather have this really wealthy dude who likes throwing money at his problems like me as opposed to hate me, you know? Like, that's a very normal human.
Yeah, maybe he gave up other people too that he knew or worked with or whatever. Like, we'll never know.
Sure.
Yeah, none of that shit.
And I'm sure there was some corruption and some, like, it's usually just like a combination of like human flaws that ends up in these situations, you know? Nobody was looking to piss him off particularly. A few people maybe bribed, and he also, it sounds really fucked up to say it now, but he was kind of a philanthropist of sorts. Like, he gave a ton of money to charities and supported things. He paid for like all his employees, kids and grandkids, like tuitions and shit. Like, there's a ton of organizations that have received money from him, and they deserve to be criticized for it. But like, the notion that people wouldn't be like, all right, you know, like, not taking like a couple of like young girls suffering seriously, like in 2008, like that seems quite on the mark.
Yeah. Also, to pivot away from this convo a little bit. Aw, there's a cute picture on TOI right now of Israelis taking cover, and like there's animals, and they've got like their doggos. I guess this is inside as a siren sounds, warning ballistic missile.
The shelter, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a shelter, yeah. That's cute. It's
There's
cool
one shelter that's like connected to a dog park, and apparently it's like crazy there when there's a siren.
Oh man. Oh hey Nikki, I was just talking to Addie about like Bibi's future in Israeli politics or whatever. And yeah, and the fact that his pardon stuff probably is going to get rejected, which I guess everybody knew, and you know,
I wouldn't say that necessarily. That's the other thing. Like, the way it works here is that like the panel has to like hand down a professional recommendation to the president, but ultimately the president could decide, like, they don't have to follow the recommendation. So like he could give him the pardon, and there's ample evidence that when when Herzog was running for president, there's like pretty solid evidence that he was actually like in communication with Bibi and being like, if you make me president, then I'll pardon you. And that was like the plan all along. And like, as in, it's like, I mean, I would confidently say that that's like factually what happened, but like, I'm happy to fight it out with someone. He got like legal opinions about pardoning him, and he sent messages about how he's really good at solving difficult problems and all of that. Also, you have to understand that like Herzog's like a kind of nepo baby, and his dad was also like a president of Israel, but was like way more respected and appreciated than he was. And there's a whole situation with his dad and pardoning and like the good of the country and all of that, that kind of like he very much so like sees himself as like this is his moment. That being said, since the war has begun, he has been like asking the hostages' families, like, hey, like, what do you think if I pardon Bibi? And they're all like, you better fucking not, I'll kill you. And like, he keeps like he needs like the public opinion to be on his side, and the Trump bullying him is not helping that matter. Every like 7 minutes, there's like, oh, he was considering using the success of the war to pardon Bibi, and then it's like, oh, then Trump says something, and it's like, oh, not anymore. Anyways, the point is, I'm not so confident that he won't. It's just a matter if he like finds a way that he thinks he could sell it to the public. I don't think that's going to be doable. And so I think it's just going to be a game of like how much pressure is on him to give the pardon and how badly he wants to give it versus like how much he cares about ruining his family's legacy, which he's like highly obsessed with.
Oh, well.
And it's like he's such a nepo baby that like has that chip on his shoulder, and he knows that if he does this, like it'll actually like crater his family's like social stock. So he's spineless and gross, but he can be manipulated.
Yeah, I can see
Is my
that.
prescription.
Okay. I think that that's good. Well, Lannis says you're underestimating Herzog's spinelessness, but it sounds like she's not, Lannis. It's because she's saying he can be manipulated. So, I mean, who knows? But anyway,
He's fully spineless, just in which direction he gets pushed. That's all I'm saying. I'm not underestimating him.
I am starving, so I'm gonna go and have
Okay,
something to
go.
eat.
Before you go, everybody, like the stream and subscribe. Don't be like Herzog. Have a spine. Like the stream.
Thank you. Also, stay safe, you and like all the Israelis.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that there isn't any more sirens. It sounds like you were laying in bed, and hopefully you get to sleep through the night. I don't know. I'm assuming that all of you guys have had like very little sleep as of late.
The rule is once my head hits the pillow, there's a siren warning, so I try to avoid it at all costs. But
well, damn.
Kidding. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be quiet. Last night was quiet. It's like on and off every other night usually, so we'll see what tonight holds. But yeah, everyone stay safe and yeah.
Yep. All right. Have a good one.
And subscribe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. All right, chat. Yeah, I am so hungry, so I'm gonna go and have some food. Thank you for tuning into this very short stream. I'll be back tomorrow morning as per usual at my usual time of 6:30 a.m. EST, because that's usually when I stream. And yeah, Fellrunner, we'll pencil in that Tally versus Connor thing, because apparently it's about Epstein, which is going to be crazy. Maybe I'll do like a little bit of extra reading about that to see exactly what's available. Perhaps I'll ask the Clanker. Maybe it'll like, I don't know, maybe I can get the Clanker to search the fucking files for me and link me to stuff, and then I can read the emails for myself or whatever. Maybe that would actually be a really easy way to go about it if it's possible. Anyway, go say hi to Hutch, everybody, and have a good one. Bye.